The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Attention Ditto Heads. Attention Bo Scouts.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
It's time for the soul of excellence.
He is a radio host here in New York.
The Rush Hour is on the air.
Rush.
Now here's James Golden.
Executive order around masks was a direction to the local law enforcement. Now, of course, we are making recommendations to the federal government that they should not send masked men with long guns and point them into the faces of black people and brown people. Right. We would hope that our federal government would recognize the error of such a thing. In terms of feeling absolutely safe, look, there's no secret here that we are under threat right now. You know, I'm not going to sit around and placate with people's emotions. Now, the one reason why I believe that we can feel safer in this moment, look at this stage. We're not alone. And today, we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
That is, ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. As we begin another week here on the fastest hour in American media, Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Welcome. Indeed. If you have ever felt uneasy about the times we're in, welcome to the club. These are uneasy moments. You have going on in Chicago, and let me just try to put some of this in perspective. There's so much happening in Chicago. There's a lot happening in Portland. There's a lot happening still with the government shutdown. We had a judge in South Carolina's house attacked with what appears and is being reported as possible arson. And of course, Democrats like this Representative Dan Goldman is blaming it on the right wing before there's even any indication that it was arson that has been confirmed, but believed to be arson, and we don't know who did it. But what's troubling about that, aside from the fact that someone tried to burn out a judge from their house, from their home, there's this judge and her husband, who's I believe, over 80 years old, were in the home. There were children in there as well. It's horrific. Some of the things that are coming across the desk these days that will make you feel uneasy. What is really troubling about Chicago is this continued race baiting and this continued racial play by this arrogant, and I don't use that word lightly, self-righteous, super pious, incompetent mayor, Brandon Johnson. Chicago is a city that is in tremendous debt, like many other cities. They can barely have the budget wherewithal to educate their school. Their teachers union is a political organization, going from the things that they stand for, the CTU. You have children, entire generations of children in Chicago that have grown up uneducated, unable to find a productive life in American society because the city has not done its core function by educating the citizenry of that town. You have massive amounts of poverty that have been generational in Chicago. Add to that an influx of hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants that the city has seen to take care of, while at the same time ignoring their responsibility to the citizens of that state. And Brandon Johnson is using this moment, and has used this moment, to set himself as some sort of patriotic figure standing on the edge. We played a clip from him a few weeks ago telling people it's time to stand up and protect their land. This is incendiary language, and people are doing it. People are following the lead of this mayor. You had reports over the weekend of a situation where one of these protesters was shot. And why were they shot? They were shot because they tried to box in ICE agents, or a car was boxed in, trying to get out, and trying to harm ICE agents or agents of the federal government. And they were hurt in the process. From there, you had a mini riot erupt. You had police on orders, police called that federal agents had asked to come and assist us. The riot situation is happening here, and police refused to help because they're caught up in this political battle between the mayor, who of course runs the city government, and the administrator and law enforcement. And supposedly there's outrage on the part of many police officers who understand what their duty is. Border agents near Chicago shot an armed woman, part of a group of murderers who attacked the agents with their cars. This happened in Chicago. Border Patrol agents conducting a routine patrol near the intersection of 39th Place and South Kidsley Avenue when they were attacked and rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars. It appears to be a coordinated attack against ICE agents. The incident occurred in the western suburb of Broadview, where an ICE facility is located and where these insurrectionists have been trying to force violence and force violent confrontations, riots, for over a week. And meanwhile, you have Pritzker, the governor there, who desperately wants to become president. He and Gavin Newsom both, instead of respecting American law, are out busy trying to foment what appears to be a civil war with the federal government. And the same thing the Democrat that runs Portland. And in fact, now you have Brandon Johnson claiming that all of this language that they use, all of this inflammatory language that I believe could be egging people on to act in the way that they are acting instead of respecting the rule of law in America. Now you have Brandon Johnson cut to saying things that are even worse.
I said very candidly that the right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. I want that to sit in right now, because the President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America.
That's right.
He's more interested in giving billions of dollars to other nations, while farmers in urban cities around this country are literally being destabilized. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's through executive order, or whether it's through the brave women and men who are serving as rapid responders. We literally have people who are volunteering in this city, on the southwest side, the northwest side, all over this city, to make sure that we're protecting children from being separated from their families. And we're talking about volunteers who are literally putting themselves at risk of being shot and killed by the federal government. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's our continuous struggle for liberation through organizing, and whether it's through executive action, or whether it's through law, it would be nice if we actually had lawmakers in Washington that would actually hold this president accountable. And if they won't do it, then the city of Chicago will, using every single tool that's available to us.
This is beyond inflammatory. The president has declared war on the people of Chicago. People in Chicago have been dying every weekend, every week, by horrific crime numbers. The President of the United States wants to stop it. Brandon Johnson and these group of Democrats behind him don't give a rat's ass how many people in that city die from criminals as long as he can dress up and pretend to be some kind of 1960s style new Black Panther with a suit and a bow tie on. This is insane. And he's urging people to pretty much take up arms against the federal government by these kind of statements. That's what he's doing. He's trying to incite violence and incite people of Chicago to rise up against the federal government. And what is the federal government doing? He cast it this simple way that Democrats always cast this. They're trying to separate families. Brandon Johnson never came out and said a word when black men and women by the score were thrown in Cook County jails over the generations that there have been jails in Cook County and separated from their families. But no, because we are now, as a government, determined to send illegal immigrants back home, by the way, not without their families, in some cases with their families if they want to go. Now he's trying to cast this as you have these awful federal government workers coming in, and it invokes slavery times, what we all know from the history of slavery. That's what he's trying to invoke, and he's saying so. Where you had families separated, and it wasn't the government, it was the Democrat Party, the slaveholders in America, the Democrats, and those who supported slavery, who were invoking chattel slavery. These people are property. They can be separated from their families, from their religions, from everything that they have known, because we need them to make a profit. That is what he is trying to invoke. He is wrong to do it. This is highly inflammatory. This is a horrific thing that is being done and that is being disseminated to people not only of Chicago but the rest of the nation. And it is dangerous. And we are seeing how dangerous it is when you have now 10 cars trying to box in federal agents, and they feel righteous enough that they can attack federal agents in a major city of the United States. And when that happens, the law enforcement community of that city fails to respond. They are playing with fire. And if this spreads and deteriorates, folks, we are looking at something that nobody in this nation should want to see. This is dangerous stuff that is happening here. Cut 5. Now, when you had this incident, ICE agents boxed in by an organized group in Chicago with all its heated rhetoric that Pritzker and Brandon have been doing. Let's hold that. Let's take a break. I want time on the other side to play this. We'll a news report from what happened there. This is dangerous stuff, folks. And they are not, these politicians, one word comes to my mind, wicked. And not in a good sense either. Birthday today for Kevin Cronin, 1951. He was born. REO Speedwagon. James Golden, Snerdley. Fastest hour in American media underway. Whatever you do, keep it right here. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
Confirming the reports that Chicago police were ordered to stand down when ICE agents were surrounded and rammed by cars. And do you want Chicago police not to help ICE agents?
Our police officers respond to every single emergency in this city. The brave women and men who sign up to serve and protect this city are committed to keeping us safe. And what we have made very clear is through our welcoming city ordinance, when it comes to civil immigration enforcement, absent a warrant, our police department will not dub as federal ICE agents. In fact, we believe it's antithetical to driving violence down in the city of Chicago. When people call 911, we do not ask what their immigration status is, right? And so our police department will respond to every incident in which their services are needed to keep people safe, protecting the fundamental right to be able to protest, ensuring the maximum safety of our residents. That is the top priority of our administration.
Can you confirm, though, were Chicago police told to stand down?
What I can confirm is that our police department responds to every single 911 call. When 911 is called and there's an emergency, our police department shows up, as they've always done.
Yeah, and of course, you know, the feds are not calling 911. You know that. You hear this garbage answer. Now, this is the way that it was reported. I believe that this is a Fox News report, cut 4. They did not, folks. They refused to help the ICE agents who were boxed in by 10 cars, which could have been
rank and file
deadly.
Chicago cops who say that they are outraged that they were ordered to stand down after federal agents were attacked. The communication for the stand down appears to have come from the chief of patrol himself over the communications platform with the Office of Emergency Management and Communication, reading very clearly, no units will respond to this. Multiple police sources have confirmed that that message is authentic, and it is backed up by audio of the stand down order.
So the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Police in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending, waving off all the cars heading to 39th Police in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
Now, the official statement from Chicago Police Department reads, CPD responded to the scene to document the incident. CPD officers were also on the scene to maintain public safety and traffic control. It happened in Brighton Park. The scene was triggered when two individuals allegedly rammed a Border Patrol vehicle with their cars. Border Patrol agents shot the driver of one of the allegedly attacking vehicles. The drivers are now charged federally, but the incident triggered a riot. That's when the calls for help went out. Now, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson just moments ago dodged questions about whether that order tracks back to him, but he says he doubts the narrative of the Border Patrol agents.
They claimed it was defensive fire, but frankly, we cannot trust anything that comes out of the administration. We have a rogue, reckless group of heavily armed mass individuals roaming throughout our city that are not accountable to the people of Chicago. Their actions put all Chicagoans at risk.
So, ICE is to blame. They're attacked. Riot starts. He denigrates law enforcement. This man should be driven from office. This is insanity.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
Now, in the old days, the GOP as a party used to do their best not to get involved in these kind of issues, so afraid they were of being called racist. Apparently, those days are coming to an end. The GOP, the Republican Party, actually put together a montage of Pritzker and all these people claiming that that we don't need any federal troops, we don't need any federal law enforcement with this. And then they went and actually talked to black people in Chicago. And this is what that montage sounded like.
There is not an emergency in the city of Chicago.
In Chicago over the weekend, at least 54 people were shot. This is just over Labor Day weekend.
We do not want troops on the ground in the city of Chicago. Neither do the people of Chicago or the people of the state.
They're going to hold their cards to their chest and say, we don't need you in Chicago. Well, I'm here to say we do need you in Chicago.
No one wants them to come, that crime is down.
The governor as well as the mayor should be on board with it just so we can get a bit more of security in Chicago.
Do not come to Chicago. You are neither wanted here nor needed here.
For anyone in our community to say that things are getting better and that people are safe, that is an outright lie.
The president is still operating on some antiquated idea.
Our children can't walk around the community without fear of being hurt or kidnapped or having a drive-by.
Chicago is in much better shape as a result of the work that we are doing to prevent crime, to interrupt crime, to reduce crime.
I don't see a reduction in crime.
The city is moving in the right direction on crime.
Do you feel like the city feels safer?
No. Not at all.
No one really feels safe. It's impossible to feel safe in a city like this, especially with the leadership we have.
2020, Saturday, well, Johnny Nash, singer-songwriter, passed away, natural causes. He was 80 years old. Best known for the hit in 1972. I Can See Clearly Now. One of the first non-Jamaican artists to record music in Kingston. Yeah. Nice to celebrate his life. Speaking of celebrations, Carlos, you want to say happy birthday to your dad? Big day today over across the, well, not across the pond, across the ocean, the vast ocean.
Yeah, he turned 70 today. Yeah. They had a huge, like a big table at a friend's place, and I was able to video call with them while the cake was coming out. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, happy birthday to your dad.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. James Golden, Snerdley here. Okay, now, let us return, ladies and gentlemen, to this insanity going on across the country. And it is truly insane. Let me turn the tables for a minute from another one Democrat to another. Let's move to Virginia for a moment. Jay Jones, young black kid, looks like a kid, is a candidate for becoming the state's next attorney general. You see pictures of this guy, it's like, oh, he's so well groomed, so nice. Yeah, this guy, interesting. Somebody grabbed, and you probably know all about this or have heard about it, somebody grabbed screenshots of text messages he sent back in 2022, not long ago. He was speaking then the Republican Speaker of the House of Delegates. That would be, yes, a gentleman by the name of Todd Gilbert. On these text messages, the guy who wants to become the next Attorney General for the entire state of Virginia, who, by the way, has had very little, apparently it has come out, very, very little trial experience at all. In fact, I heard today, and I don't know whether this is true, I heard it on a newscast, someone saying that he has never prosecuted a single case himself. But I haven't verified that. That's just what I've heard on the news. But this young man, Jay Jones, said that if Todd Gilbert, at the time the Republican Speaker of the House of Delegates in Virginia, which, quick aside, he said if he were in a room with Hitler, Pol Pot, Gilbert, the Republican, would get 2 bullets to the head. He also suggested that Gilbert's children should be killed. Because only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. He called the guy's children young fascists. and suggested that his children, be killed as well. And this guy is running, and Democrat running in that race against Winsome Sears, Abigail Spanberger, refuses to say this guy should drop out of the race. Now, we have 2 bites on that one. Let's turn first to the governor, the current governor of the state, Glenn Youngkin, and then Winsome Sears. Just play them both back, 12 and 13 back to back.
This is just the beginning, and people have to understand our democracy is being taken away from us, and we only have about a year. Just to be clear about this. And people, you're doing
12.
A
I'm sorry, 12, 13.
Good job.
That's not the one.
People what is
Stop
actually
this.
happening.
Glenn Youngkin, governor, Virginia. Unless we were playing the wrong one, let's see what we got here.
This is what you said at the time about that particular shutdown. Here it is.
We are willing to take what Senate Republicans have done in order to reopen the government so that we no longer are
folks,
holding...
we got a massive screw up here. I'm sorry. I apologize for it. We do not have the quote, apparently, of Glenn Youngkin, because that was Hakeem Jeffries. Do we have Winsome Sears? 13. Let's try that and see if we have Winsome Sears. We don't have that. Okay. Sometimes the best laid plans of host. I don't know what happened here. Let's stop trying to figure it out. We're wasting time. Let's move anyway. Both Winsome Sears and Governor Youngkin have discussed this. Not happy. Yes. We have Winsome Sears, who, by the way, is scheduled to be on the Saturday Vibe this coming Saturday. Anyway, here's
the calls for hate and violence are coming from the mouths of the Democrat Party's leaders. And Jay Jones is just the most recent, and his wish for violent acts the most clear. So if you can't solve a problem, you can't name it, but I will. And here and now, the leadership of the Democrat Party has become consumed with hate. The calls for hate and...
Yep, and that is what they have been consumed with. Okay, let's move out to Portland. More Democrat madness. More Democrat madness. As you know, the president wanted to send federal enforcement to squash what has been going on for as many years now as some of us can remember. This has gone on for years. This Antifa takeover and hooliganism that is part of Portland, Oregon's now very fiber. So, Donald Trump going to send the troops there. We have federal judge. Her name is and appointed by Donald Trump. She's the Karen J. Immergut, issued a temporary restraining order blocking President Trump's plan to send California guards to Portland, Oregon. Second ruling. First, she blocked him federalizing Oregon's National Guard. She said that his administration's argument for doing so risked blurring the line between civil and military federal power to the detriment of the country. So now this judge is determining that she knows what's in the best interest of America and that she's going to usurp presidential power. Yes, it's jaw-dropping. So this Trump-appointed judge now, Trump in response said Portland burning to the ground. It's insurrectionists all over the place. It's Antifa. Yet the politicians who are petrified, look, politicians afraid for their lives. The only reason they're saying nothing's happening. They're pretending nothing's happening. And he lambasted this judge, said he wasn't served very well for putting this judge. But there's a bigger story coming out of this. This afternoon, Carolyn Leavitt, White House press secretary, she addressed this situation with the judge that's cut 18, and she also addressed what is happening with the federal government's effort to find out who is behind Antifa. We'll listen to those.
Second question. A federal judge over the weekend that the president had appointed to the bench in his first term in office basically argued that he could not deploy other states' National Guards to Portland, basically said that it was untethered, his argument, to what is actually happening on the ground. Which local officials in Portland have said that the National Guard is needed there?
With all due respect to that judge, I think her opinion is untethered in reality and in the law. The president is using his authority as commander-in-chief, U.S. Code 12406, which clearly states that the president has the right to call up the National Guard in cases where he deems it's appropriate. And if you look at what has happened in Portland, Oregon, for more than 100 nights, I was talking to our law enforcement team about it this morning, for more than 100 days, night after night after night, the ICE facility has been really under siege by these anarchists outside. They have been disrespecting law enforcement. They've been inciting violence. We saw, again, a guillotine rolled out in front of this federal building. And so the president wants to ensure that our federal buildings and our assets are protected. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. And ultimately, in the case in Los Angeles, that judge ruled in the Ninth Circuit, that panel of judges ruled that those troops could remain and that the president was well within his authority to do so. So we are appealing that decision. As you know, we expect a hearing on it pretty quickly, and we're very confident in the president's legal authority to do this, and we're very confident we will win on the merits of the law.
But no local officials that you can point to that have said we need the National Guard? Because I spoke to the police chief of Portland last week. He said that the president's claims just don't match up with what's happening on the ground.
I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and to take a look at it for yourself, because there's been many members of the press, not press in this room, but independent journalists, some of whom we'll be inviting to the White House very soon to share their stories, because they have been in the middle of these riots and they have witnessed the anarchy that is taking place night after night. It's on video. You should play it on your show. You have a great opportunity on primetime on CNN to show your audience. Yeah, but you're probably talking to partisan Democrat officials who are opposed to everything this president does. You should also ask the people who live in Portland. We've actually heard from many members of the community who have said that this is complete civil disobedience. It's a mess. It's been loud. It's been troubling for neighbors in the community who are just trying to live peacefully. And these people are not there to peacefully protest. They are there to cause mayhem and havoc.
Yeah, Caroline. Yeah, and so that goes on. Later on in the presser, Caroline Levitt said this.
The financial backing of these groups, particularly Antifa, is certainly something the administration is looking into aggressively. And the federal government has never really been mobilized or tasked with doing that. So we're kind of kickstarting that into gear. The FBI is working on it alongside the White House's Homeland Security Task Force. We have our intelligence community looking into this as well. And even the Secretary of Treasury is involved with these matters since they are financial in nature. And we will continue to get to the bottom of who is funding these organizations in this organized anarchy against our country and our government. It's a question the American people have been begging the answer for many years, and we're committed to uncovering it. And when we do, I'm sure you'll be one of the first people to know.
And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave a minute or two, hopefully, so that we can talk about the shutdown, which is still going on. James Golden, Snerdley. What you got here, Carlos?
This is the one and only Eddie Van Halen, the revered guitarist and co-founder of the band Van Halen. That at the age of 65, the Dutch-American musician had been receiving treatment for throat cancer. Halen...
And you know what? Sad day. Eddie Van Halen passes away this day, 2020. Yeah.
That's a tough last name he actually had.
What? Van Halen?
Ludwig?
Oh.
I don't know.
Edward Ludwig Van Halen. I think that's the way. Carlos, I'm not sure on that one. We'll be back, folks. Don't go away. Keep it right here.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Both Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rush Hour with James Golden.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
Now, here's James Golden.
Well, I call them Democrat layoffs. They're Democrat layoffs. They're causing it. We're ready to go back. You know, we have a record-setting economy. We have a record-setting country. Prices are way down. We're doing better than the country's ever done. And the Democrats hate seeing that. It's up to them. Anybody laid off, that's because of the Democrats.
There are so many stories about layoffs. The Washington Post has one I wanted to get to. We don't have time for it today. Processing the government shutdown in a divided America. I'm going to just hold that. Maybe we can talk about it tomorrow. 1948, on this day, Millie Small was born, Jamaican singer Millie Small. This was the first hit for Island Records. Later, of course, Island Records became a behemoth. 1964, though, this went all the way up to the top of the charts. One of the most successful singles of all time, 7 million. Passed away, she did, in 2020, 72 years old. Also, the theme song for the Barney Frank update. For those of you Rush Limbaugh program, Barney Frank, famed congressman from Massachusetts, and My Boy Lollipop was a big one for that. Now, very quickly, Hakeem Jeffries is getting questions he's not used to. Cut 10 on the Today Show. This segment ran.
This is what you said at the time about that particular shutdown. Here it is.
We are willing to take what Senate Republicans have done in order to reopen the government so that we no longer are holding 800,000 federal workers hostage.
Well, that's exactly what you're doing right now. Hundreds of thousands of workers are being held hostage. What's changed from then to now?
Well, actually, Donald Trump is the president. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They could reopen the government if they chose to. The reality is...
Well, they would have to change the rules to be fair.
Well, that's correct.
So he's even trying to obfuscate that and trying to lie, and it gets called out on it. Now, this doesn't normally happen anywhere in the mainstream press, but he's being called out. And Kirsten Walker of Meet the Depressed actually asked him the same thing. You said this, and now you're saying this. This is something that doesn't normally happen to Democrats. Speaker Johnson on the offensive, cut 7. And this is what Johnson is saying, had to say earlier, I think today or late yesterday.
California loophole. You know what they did in California? Gavin Newsom and the team out in California? They expanded Medicaid to cover all able-bodied illegal alien adults. These men who could be working or whatever. I mean, they're not even citizens, never intended by Congress. They put that on the tab of the taxpayer. And so we reversed it. Chuck Schumer would repeal that. He would repeal those repairs, and this is what it would cost you. Do the math. I won't go through each line, but it's on the website, speaker.gov. You can pull this up. It amounts to $192 billion, $192.8 billion. So almost $200 billion that Chuck Schumer wants to put back in. Also, by the way, while he's repealing our health subtitle, he would also repeal the $50 billion that Republicans put into the bill to support our rural hospitals around the country.
Now, also, something odd is happening here. I see time is running out. Washington Post editorial board. The shutdown conversation no one wants to have. As the partial government shutdown enters its second week, neither party is leveling with the American people about the hard choices required to get federal spending off a fiscally ruinous trajectory. Listen to this. President Joe Biden and congressional Democrats use COVID-19 to justify chasing the mirage of a European-style welfare state without raising the necessary taxes to pay for it. Now, prodded by the left, party leaders have shut down the government to keep it that way. I'm going to deal with this tomorrow. We got to go. May God bless, protect each and every one of you. Families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here, allowing me to be with you. God willing, we are back tomorrow for the Tuesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour.
You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?